Your life is your book, and this is my favorite chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, all things relationships abroad. A broken heart led me to China. There's a very famous term in China that says, where do broken hearts go? They go to China to teach English. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have Matt, who's going to take us through her journey with working in China. Matt, thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Girl, so you came to China, right, with a broken heart. Tell me what exactly happened and what was the reason that you decided to come to China?
It's so funny because a lot of people pack bags because they want to travel, because they want experience. But for me, it was literally a broken heart. It was an end to a 6 year long relationship.
6 years.
Yes, 6 years, a whole 6 years. So I was so heartbroken. I was just like, I'm going to China to teach English. Literally, that was it.
Wow. So you were teaching in South Africa, right?
I was a teacher for 2 years. I was actually working at PMB,
Okay.
Peter Marisburg, and yeah.
Okay. So like the heartbreak was just too much. You couldn't carry on with work. You decided you'd leave your family and just new continent and start over. Is that how much, I mean, how bad it was that you couldn't be in a country or maybe change a city or something?
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. I mean, 6 years is a long time.
Of course.
You know, having given somebody the prime years of your life.
Yes,
You know, these
yes,
were the
true.
best years of your life, and you were hoping obviously for the best. So I didn't want to be in the same city. I didn't want to be in the same country. I didn't want to breathe the same air, literally.
Wow.
So I just left.
Wow, but how was your family? What did they think? Okay, Matt, you have a job because obviously many people come to China because, as you have mentioned, because they want to work, they don't have a job. And why China? And your family, how did they feel? What did they say? Did they think, are you going
Of
crazy or
course,
something?
they wanted me to stay. I mean, I remember my grandmother literally pulled me aside to have a conversation with me. And she's like, "But why? You know, you still get another boyfriend. Why are you leaving? You're beautiful, get another boyfriend." But it wasn't about that. I didn't want a boyfriend in South Africa. I wanted out. I wanted to leave. They literally really, really tried to get me to stay. But I was just like, nah.
It's not gonna work.
It's
This is
really, it wasn't going to work, you know.
And did you know anyone who was already in China? Like, did you know anything about China, like the life in China, how things will be? I mean, it's a different continent where you're not scared that you might be going through anything which would make your life worse or something like that.
What could be worse than that? I mean, I was just thinking to myself, I mean, what could be worse than having wasted your life, you know, with a person? There was nothing that could have been worse for me from there. I knew only one person at that time who was in China.
Yes.
I hadn't even thoroughly done my research, to be really, really honest. It's only when I decided that I started watching YouTube videos and all that. But even at that, I was still going to go anyway.
Wow. Okay. So take me through the process of okay, the process of coming to China. You came which year and which city was it? And then you're going to tell us like your school. How was the school and the experience? Obviously, because our main topic is your experience in a workplace in China.
I literally left South Africa 31st of December 2019.
Really? Your 31st, girl?
I literally left
Uh-huh.
on the first.
2019. Wait, that was during COVID.
That was
it? Not yet.
before.
Before. Oh
COVID,
yes.
because
it was
COVID
before.
actually hit 2 weeks after I got here.
Oh, what? Oh my
Exactly.
goodness, that is
It varies.
terrible.
It's just 2 weeks after I got here, the whole country went under lockdown,
Oh my
and well,
god.
that's a story for another day. But
No,
anyway,
but oh my goodness. No, but let's talk about this. I mean, you are heartbroken and you saying you're going to China to heal, and then you get there and then there's a virus. Like,
like,
oh my
what must happen
goodness.
now?
How did you feel about that?
When we got into lockdown, then I constantly got calls, from family like, "You need to come back. Why are
My
you there?" It hadn't even been
goodness.
a month, right?
Mm,
But it's
mm.
just like I said in my mind, nothing would be worse than even
What you
even
already went
COVID,
through. Oh my
even COVID.
goodness.
So
I see. Uh-huh.
when we got into the lockdown, it was really hard because I hadn't had the chance to make friends.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
I had just been here for 2 weeks, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite hard. At a point, I considered going back home, but then I was like, nah, fam,
No, I'm not going
nah,
back to seeing the whole
nah.
environment and
This is
everything.
like, nah, I'm not. But I was in Miya Mat City,
Okay.
which is in Sichuan province.
Okay.
It's just right down south, south of China, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very small city.
Okay.
The kind of city where if you walking by, parents are,
Looking at you. Yes, like who's this?
like they
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A foreigner.
kind
Mm-hmm.
kind of, right.
Yes, yes.
It was that kind of a city, and I had a colleague. He was from Morocco,
Mm-hmm.
so there were two of us. When I got here, he left for his vacation
Okay.
to Turkey, and he got locked out.
My
He was literally
goodness.
never able to come back.
Oh, that is
So now there was just
terrible.
only me working with only Chinese people. You
Mm.
can't speak Chinese. You don't understand Chinese,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's nobody else you can communicate to. But my boss, he was the most nicest man ever. He was such an understanding man.
Okay.
He can't speak English, right? So
Yes.
we'd use translators to talk and WeChat.
That is terrible.
It is. So imagine when the virus hit and there were things he had to explain to me. It was always over
On the
WeChat.
yes, and you know that sometimes the translation is not so accurate.
Oh
You
my
know.
goodness. Oh my goodness. It was the worst thing ever. It was the worst
Oh
thing
my
ever. Because you try
goodness.
to say this and the translator is like saying
It's saying something
something
else.
else.
Yeah.
But it was a nice experience. Difficult as it was, but it was a nice experience. I mean, my work, the most difficult thing was just different work cultures.
Okay.
There's a certain culture that I come with from South Africa, and there's a certain, Chinese working
Yes,
culture,
yes.
which
Of
was
course, it's
really
different.
hard to actually get into. I mean, simple things like I don't want to be told what to do. I'm a whole professional.
Yes.
But Chinese people would want to tell you what to do,
Because they have their own
way of
doing
doing
things.
things, which was
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah.
But I had to be flexible and just adjust.
I see. I see. Okay. So if you'd compare from your experience back home to your school where you were, and what would you say about it? Like, is it, you're saying it was more obviously difficult here because it's a different ways of teaching and stuff. So the age difference of the children, did you have the same age or they were the same age? Like,
So opposite. I mean, here I was teaching kids between the ages of 2 years old and 14 years old.
okay.
But majority of my kids are between 2 years and 5 years. Back home, I mean, I'm a high school teacher. I teach physics. I was teaching, high school.
Yes.
So the fact that you had to adjust yourself to teaching a 2-year-old who's never seen a foreigner
Foreigner.
altogether, they see you, they start crying. You have to be patient. It was really hard, really hard. But
Okay, so how was the relationship between you and their parents also? Like, because if you're a teacher in China, it's very important to have a relationship with the parents, right? Because you have to tell them of their children's progress and things like those. How was it?
I had a very good relationship with them. I mean, it was to some extent they'd want to take you out for dinner.
Oh,
You
that's
know, they want to
nice.
invite you to their homes.
Yeah,
They want
yeah.
to take you out for vacations and all
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
It was a really good relationship because I think with parents in general, parents know when a teacher loves their
The
kids.
children,
You
of
know,
course,
it's
yeah.
not really about us teaching.
Only.
You
Mm-hmm,
know, it's just
mm-hmm.
about you loving the kids.
Yes, having
So
a relationship that the parents can, like, they trust you, they're okay with you being around the children.
exactly. And just making the classroom fun to be around because when they go home, they talk about Laushmia or they tell the parents, I
Yes, what
like my
happens?
English class or I don't like my English class or this is what happens, right?
Yes, yes,
So
I
we
see.
had a good relationship. I had a
Okay,
good relationship with them.
okay. What about back home? I would just love to ask that. How was the relationship with the parents back home?
I was teaching in a school where I was the only Sutu person
Okay.
at that time,
Uh-huh,
right?
uh-huh.
So it was just generally hard to communicate
Yes.
with the parents,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the kind of school I was teaching at, it's the school where if you need to call a parent, they'll tell you, "Oh, I don't have time, I'm working," right?
Oh, okay.
But if you need money from a parent for their child to do something like, oh, but I don't have money because I'm not working. So,
Oh,
so
wow.
which
So
one
which
is
one is
it,
it
right?
exactly? So they just didn't want to be involved,
That's the thing.
basically.
So it was a school where the parents weren't involved. You know, that student teacher parent relationship wasn't there
Didn't
literally.
apply.
The kind of school where a child is absent, but you don't know who to ask or who to call because parents just aren't involved. So that it was a huge difference.
I see, I see. I guess then you had like you were stunned when you came here because one thing about parents here, they're so in their children's lives. Like they'll come, they take pictures, they stay. Like you've dropped your child already. You should be going to work, but
They
they're
will.
still there. They're taking pictures. They're doing a morning exercise. They're going to class. They're still there. Like
That
you
is
just don't.
true. I think it's one thing I admire about the system just here in general, you know.
Yes.
I'd if I were a parent, I'd want to be involved in my
Of
child's education.
course.
I'd
Yeah,
want to know who's
definitely.
teaching my child. You know what kind of a teacher my child has because it plays a significant role in a child's growth. I mean,
Yes.
the kids are with us 7 hours every day, you know, so I'd want to know this person who's spending time with my kids,
Exactly.
right? I really admired it. I really, really did.
You don't think it's a bit too much, maybe? What do you still like? I mean, sometimes you have to be. Well, not all the schools, but some schools, the foreign teachers have to be part of the morning exercise, and the parents are there watching. Like, did you have to go through that?
It can get extreme. It can get really, really extreme. I remember at a point I had a class where the kids were all 2 years old,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I had 4 students, all 2 years old, and I think for 2 months the parents were in class with
Watching.
literally, and it can get uncomfortable to
Of course.
some point
Oh my
because it's just
goodness.
like
Yeah, like you're right here, and your child is here, and
it
okay.
can be really uncomfortable. It can get a little bit
Yeah,
too much, right? Because obviously you can't always be in class with a child
Yeah.
to some
Yeah.
extent. Like
Yeah, of
it
course.
can get extreme. So I've had that.
Okay, I see. But what about the children? If their parents are there, are they still focused to you, or like are they still part of the classroom, or they just see their parents and they just want to run to them or something like that, or cry? Because sometimes, I mean, the children's behavior around their parents is different.
It's so
too.
different,
Yeah, it's very, very
right?
different. Yeah.
I think it just depends with each child and how they were raised with the situation at home.
Makes sense.
Because
Makes
sometimes you have a child with a parent and they're able to cooperate, they're able to, you know, interact with you. Sometimes if you have a parent in class and the child just doesn't want to do anything, they're clinging on to mommy, you know, mama. They're clinging on to mommy. Sometimes you have a child who's so disrespectful and rude with a parent
Yeah, 'cause
there,
they're there.
right? So it just depends with the child, how they were raised and how the parent is with the child. But I've had all of them.
Okay, so what did teacher Matt when she encountered maybe like the child is being rude? Like, what did you do?
You know what?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna be very honest. My first instinct when a parent is there and a child is being rude is, if I, as a parent, I wouldn't allow my child to be rude in my presence. Not
Of
even even
course.
in my absence, obviously, right? You'd expect a parent to at least call the child to order, but it doesn't happen here. So as a teacher, you have to
Take
step
care of
in.
that, of
Yeah,
course.
you have to step in.
And they watching how you going to do that
Of
exactly. They watching.
course.
They taking notes. Like,
Of
did you
course.
talk to my child like that?
Of
Did you
course.
just hold their hand?
Of
What did you do?
course.
Yeah.
Of course. But here, you discipline with love. It's not just a hair thing. You just discipline with love. That's all. That's all.
So you would say that is a huge difference that happened between your experience here and back home because
The parents are so involved. It is such a huge, 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 huge difference. But
okay,
in a good way,
in a good way.
because at least the parents are involved. Back home sometimes you give a student a homework, they don't do it. It's your responsibility as a teacher to note
Follow
as to
up.
why the
Yeah.
student didn't do homework. But here it's very rare for you to give a child homework as little as
Yeah,
two
they
years
are.
old.
Yes, they will do it.
Mommy or daddy will make sure that all they do is
It's
their English
done.
homework, and it's a huge plus for me.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. Okay. So you are there. Let's go back to you being in China, and then there's COVID and all of that. And when did you get the new job? Did you carry on there, staying for 1 month? Did you renew your contracts? What happened?
So when COVID hit, you were by yourself. You're by yourself in this apartment. You literally don't have anybody to talk to and all that. We were I think under lockdown for 2 or 3 months, right? It was a
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
2 3 months. I remember at a point there was a repatriation flight to South Africa, right?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
tried to put my name in, but it was already
Full.
full, so I couldn't leave. At some points I used to really, really cry about it every day.
Uh-huh.
But then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just meant to be here. Let me just stick it out.
Yeah.
And 4 months later, April, we started work. So I was still working for the same school.
Yes.
Since then, up until this year, September, right, the
Okay.
school closed down. So I had to find another school, which is where I'm at now.
So your first school, it was a 1 year contract or 2 years? Did you renew or it was?
It was a year contract I renewed.
Okay.
And
Okay.
quite honestly, I simply renewed because of my boss.
Okay.
That man was, I can't explain how good of a man he was. Literally, if I couldn't unlock my door or I forgot my key or whatever, he was literally the first person I'd think of, I'd contact,
Yes.
because he was just always ready to help with
Yeah.
everything.
Uh-huh.
So I renewed because he was such a good boss.
That is amazing.
He was such a good
That is
boss.
really amazing.
He was the kind of a boss that would defend you, when parents are
Oh,
skeptical
really?
of you as a foreign teacher.
Wow, which is very rare, It's
Very,
very,
very
you are very
rare.
lucky. Yes, you are very, very,
Very,
lucky.
very lucky.
Because most of the times, with the businesses or school, what matters is the money, and the parents pay the money. So if the parents are not happy with you, they have to let you go.
That is true.
Even if you're a good teacher, if one parent is just like, okay, I'm not sure of the teacher, because now you're giving us the money. Now we can't
That
use
is
this
so
job.
true. My boss was, oh my goodness. He was legit like, if you don't want my teacher teaching your child, then take the child out of school.
Wow.
He was such a good boss.
That
He
is
was
really
such a good boss.
amazing.
I can't say the same for his wife, but
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Oh, wow.
Then if you are so happy then in that school, what made you leave the school? Because you in your new job, right?
because the school closed down. But even at that, I was gonna leave anyway because I was working for a training center.
Okay.
So I wanted something a bit more concrete, normal, a normal, 9 to 5
Yes.
job.
Yes.
So I was gonna leave anyway because I had gotten the experience. I wanted something new. Yeah.
So just to elaborate for someone who doesn't understand what is a training center and a normal school, or like, can you just try and
Sure.
explain that? Okay.
A training center is literally your after school classes, that would operate after school from 6 to 9. And they operate also on weekends, right? Saturday and Sunday. So these are just like extra classes. It could be English extra classes, arts extra classes, music extra classes, whatever. That's a training center here. Yeah.
Okay. So, when you decided that, okay, you didn't decide, you had to leave, did you encounter any difficulties? Because one thing about China, your boss and your employer, they can be nice to you, but when you have to leave the school, sometimes they give you a difficult time. Some people would have to stay with the school because they won't let you go. They will hold on your documents and say they got lost. I know a few people who've been in those
Same,
situations. Yes. So you went through the same thing?
It wasn't hard to leave, right? Because obviously the school was shutting down. It's not like I was leaving the school. My boss was really ready to give me my documents, and it's just like you say, he had been nice to me for these 2 years,
Yes.
So to some extent, I wasn't even expecting problems
Yes.
or challenges with me leaving.
Yeah.
But when I was supposed to get my documents, he was legit like, oh, you have to pay me this amount of money for me to give you my documents. Which was really shocking because imagine you have this perception about a person.
Yes. Now, what is this? What happened? You changed?
Yeah. You see,
What?
exactly, that was my reaction. More of, it wasn't the money he was asking me to pay for me to get my documents that shocked me. It was that he was saying it, like,
In a not a very nice way.
of course it can't be nice because it's like, you don't give me this amount of money,
You have a
you
problem.
can't get your documents. And you know
Oh
what
my
it's like in China. You don't get your documents, you
You
can't.
have to go back home.
Of course,
Yes,
you
oh
can't
my
move on to the
God.
next school. So I had to pay him a certain amount of money for me to get my documents to leave.
How did that make you feel? I mean,
I was sad. I think what made me even more sad was that it was him.
oh yes, you trusted him.
I
and
trusted him to some extent. It's like when you trust a person so much and your trust is just like,
this is it.
this is,
Actually, I'm a different person.
this is me, like, hello,
Oh my
hi.
goodness. Wow.
Kind
Okay,
of.
let's go back to the heartbreak because we didn't really get where you finally got healed and you thought, you know what, this is it. I'm here and I'm happy. What happened? When did you finally
You know what?
heal?
With COVID and everything, and having been by myself during that time, of course my heart was still bleeding. I wasn't even hurt only. I was mad and angry, There was a bitter me also, like,
Okay.
I was
okay.
mad.
Uh-huh.
It took a while for me to heal. I think 4 months or 6 months after I got here. And that was because then I started meeting people and started eyeing other people.
Okay,
kind
okay,
of,
all right.
And mingling, flirting.
Yes.
Started going out on dates, which is something I never thought, was possible with the heartbreak that I had gotten. So at that point, when I started meeting other people, I realized I'm okay.
Okay, so then you are all healed and stuff, and then life carried on. And then now let's go to your new job because you recently got this job, right? You moved to a new city.
Of course.
So tell us about this new job.
I moved to a new city, Nanjing.
Nanjing, a big city.
So nice. Yes. When I first got to Nanjing, let me tell you, in my previous city, I think we knew all the foreigners there.
Really? It was
Literally,
that small?
it was that small.
Wow.
Even the locals knew us, right?
Wow.
Literally. So when I moved to Nanjing first, the first day I remember, I was in a space where there were so many foreigners, right? And I was with a person, so I kept on being like, a foreigner.
No, everyone is used to the foreigners. It's like, okay, girl, where do you come from?
Because I hadn't seen so many foreigners like
Makes sense.
in one
Course.
place,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Literally, I was literally, the person was even laughing like, what's your problem? Because I was like, I haven't seen so many black and white or mixed people, you know, in one space.
In one space, I
Literally,
see.
you know how Chinese people are like, with I
Yes,
was like,
you were the
I
one that was doing what they always. Oh my goodness, I see. Yeah, girl.
Yes, just literally.
It is like that, though.
You know,
It really is.
So it was, I hadn't realized then how I just hadn't seen foreigners in 2 years, right? It was really exciting.
And you know, also with foreigners, if you're in a small city, because I've also been in a small city, like yes, 2 years in a small city. My first year here, I was in a big city, obviously. I mean. So with the foreigners, what I've realized is when you're coming from the small city and you see a foreigner, you would want to greet them
Of
and talk to them and all of that.
course.
And then when you come to a big city, everyone is used to everyone. Like I always see foreigners, but what
Like,
is wrong with
nobody
you?
says
And now you're like,
hi.
they didn't greet me. They just walked past.
And it's so painful.
It
It
is.
is so
Yeah,
painful, right?
yeah.
Because in my previous city, the minute I see a person who's not Chinese, me and that person, we talk no matter what, right?
Yeah.
But here, I mean, people just walk past. But for the first 2-3 days, I was just always like,
Yeah. Hello, it's me.
now
Here.
but now I'm so used to it.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to walk around, see people who look like you. It's just so nice to go to a park and you're not the only person who looks different. You know, it's nice to walk into a restaurant and it's not just you.
Yeah.
Also, one more thing, it's nice to have foreign food because
It's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so your new job, right? So how is the relationship? Because we want to know about this. How's the relationship with the colleagues? Do you have, because your first school, right? You ended up being the only one there. So now, do you have any other foreigners in the school? And how's the relationship with?
I
between
work
you guys?
currently at an international school, right? Where all the teachers are foreign teachers, literally. And I teach physics, science to grade 7 to 9 learners, right?
Okay.
All the teachers are foreign, but the relationship for me, it is very professional. I've always been like this. It's not a China thing. Even back home, I just prefer to keep work at work and my personal business as my personal business. I'm literally not the kind of a person to make friends at work. You know, I'm that one teacher who'll stay in her classroom to do her thing.
Okay.
That's me, literally. So this is, I wouldn't say I have a relationship with my colleagues. It's just professional.
Oh, I see.
That's all. Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying that you are teaching physics, right? And the language barrier, girl. I mean, you're in China.
I mean, most of
English
my
is-
students are Korean. They're South Korean. Most of my
okay.
students are South Korean. Some have a good command of the language, but to some it's just extremely difficult. So you can imagine how hard it is to try to explain what homogeneous or heterogeneous is. Even in science, you can't explain content because now the next person doesn't understand the language, you know. So sometimes it gets pretty hectic. It gets really, really hectic. But the one thing with these students of mine is they are willing to put in the work. They are willing to go the extra mile to understand, which just makes everything way smooth because you have people who are willing, you know, who want to work. Because back home, I literally had 3 students who would never do homework, who would tell you straightforward, ma'am, I can't.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and you couldn't do anything about it. But here you have students who ask for more work.
Oh,
Miss
wow.
Mat, can you please give us more work because we want to practice more? So the fact that there's that will just makes it so easier.
Oh, that's beautiful. And then you do have a good relationship with their parents also.
The parents are so cute. The parents are good because
Cute.
they are.
Okay.
Literally. But anyway,
Okay.
my parents, my students' parents, they're very nice. Most of them are very educated.
Okay.
Right. They are very well aware of the kind of a teacher they want for their
Their
kids.
children.
You know, they're very aware of the future they want for their children.
Okay.
They're very detailed. Very, very detailed. The
Okay.
parents want to know, like, on a daily basis, what do you do with that children? You know, what experiments are they doing? How are they applying? They literally want to know these things. But for me, it's such a good gesture because you are interested in what your child is doing.
Of course.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't get that back home, right? But for the fact that they're interested, they ask questions, I
You like
appreciate it
that.
so
Yeah.
much, right?
Yeah,
We have a good relationship.
okay. So how's the marking? Do you do any marking? Does it remind you of home, or you don't go through anything like that?
Never. I don't do
Never?
that.
Really?
No, I don't do that.
Okay.
So we use a different curriculum, right?
Uh-huh.
We in the IB curriculum. IB is literally about a child being able to ask. You know, it's inquiry based. So we don't assess students based on tests and exams.
Oh wow.
No, we don't do that, right?
Okay.
You assess them based on projects, investigations. Are they critical thinkers? You know, you're trying to get them to want to ask, why is this wine white? You know, why is your dress white? Why couldn't
Okay.
it be pink? This is what we try, the kind of people we're trying to build up in society. So I don't have marking like I
Yeah.
have to mark
Yeah.
exams and all that. No, we literally always doing projects. We're always doing assignments. We are not exam based, so I don't have that kind of marking like back home where you have 50 students in
Yeah,
class,
in class.
and you have to mark physics paper one, physical sciences paper one. You have to mark physical sciences paper two. There's a mandate, there's a due date. We don't do that literally, so I don't do that. But what makes it hectic and difficult is your lessons have to be very practical. When I teach, I always have to have provocations like practical things. You know, it's not theoretical at all. I'm not gonna teach mixtures and just have a PowerPoint and be like, oh, a
This is
mixture
what
is
it
this.
is. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
I literally have to always have practical materials with me to show them, to demonstrate, which makes it fun for me because it teaches kids to apply
And
science.
explore.
Right. Because I remember this one incident where we were doing mixtures and I had an egg, right? 2 eggs actually.
Yes.
But the eggs were meant to show something else. I was meant to just put it in vinegar and water, right?
Okay.
But they didn't know that I had just put up the whole set there.
Yes.
So they took the eggs and they were asking me, Miss Matt, can I break the egg? Right. The egg wasn't meant to be broken, right? But because now she's come up with something new, so I was just like, okay, because I wanted to see what she wanted to do with it, you know, which is something we don't do back home. Back home, it's like,
This is what it is. We're following the paper.
that's it.
Makes sense. Okay. So now that means you had a total different way, obviously, as you mentioned before, of teaching. Did you get any training for this type of teaching?
Mayor. No.
Mayor. So how did you pull up? How did you, because you seem like someone who's really, like, you have so much passion in it and you're enjoying your work. Like, how did you how did you pull yourself up? And
It's literally just being flexible. I mean, I don't know with you. When I first came here, I'm a physics teacher. I'm a math and physics teacher, high school even, FET. So when I first came here, my class was full of 3-year-olds that you had to teach English to. You know, I'm not an English teacher, but I had to train myself to be an ESL teacher. So my point is, in general, I'm a very flexible person, right?
that's
When I
beautiful.
first got to the school, there was no form of training for you to be taught how to teach IB, or I had to go read up myself. I had to get websites. I had to literally research by myself. So I had to do everything myself.
Wow. Oh, girl, that is amazing. I'm proud of you, actually. That's really beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about your bosses. Are they Chinese? Are you working with? Are they foreigners? Because we do have foreigners who are like principals and other positions. Yeah, can you just tell us about that and the relationship?
My bosses, I have an immediate boss, your coordinator. That would be your HOD, right?
Yes,
An
yes.
SA. He's white. He's a
Okay.
foreigner, right? I have
Where is he from? Do
principal.
you know
He's Australian,
Okay,
right?
okay.
I have a principal who's Mexican American,
Okay.
and literally all the management at my school are foreign.
Foreign.
Which makes things a lot easier because the mode of communication is just it's common between us, so.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that is beautiful. And they understand, right? Because, I mean, sometimes with the Chinese people, if you are, for example, holidays, I'll just put that one out there because it worries me a lot. Like we have Christmas, we have. We want to celebrate New Year's Eve also. We want to be off and stuff. Like there's things that you want. You are in different continent, a different country and stuff, but you still want to celebrate these things. And if everyone is Chinese and you're the only foreigner, they will not understand. Like you want Christmas off, but we're working. It's Christmas. It's Christmas back home, not here. Like, does it make things easier for you?
It
like
makes
in a way.
things so much easier because I mean I have Christmas off, I have New Year's Eve off. We have literally like 3 weeks of
Jealous.
I'm sorry. We have literally next week we're going on holidays.
Really?
Literally the 17th is my last week at work.
For how long? How long are you gonna have those?
3 weeks.
My goodness.
Of course. Something I've never had for the last 2 years.
Yes,
right? So it just makes things a whole lot easier in every aspect. Literally every aspect is easier because whether it's Halloween, we celebrate, it's Thanksgiving, we celebrate. So it just makes things a whole lot easier.
Oh, that is amazing, girl. Okay, do you have any final words that you'd love to say, like to leave for people? Maybe any advice for people back home who'd love to come to China, or people who have a job and they think, oh, maybe not, because would you advise anyone like to come here? Just anything really.
If you have a broken heart. But honestly, really, on a very this is the last thing I want to say on a very serious note.
Wow, that's a good one.
On a very, very serious note, like, yo, guys, if you really have a broken heart, China is the place to be. Besides the fact that, there's financial freedom involved and you learn a new culture and all that. You meet people here. We jolla, guys. We jolla here. My last words would be, if you're really thinking about coming to China, you should. There are jobs here. There are relationships here. Literally, there's just everything. So if you want to come, do come.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for your words. If you have a broken heart, I'll say it again.
China is the place
Come
to be.
China. Thank you so much for watching All Things Relationships Abroad with Nikita Kamane. Please do subscribe, like, and don't forget to comment, because we love to know your own views and keeping you engaged. If you believe you have a story that you'd love to share, please do send us a WhatsApp text or an email, because anyone can tell your story, but no one can tell it like you can. Until next time, All Things Relationships Abroad.